Wednesday is not an ordinary Wednesday, Ash Wednesday. Now, what does this signify to you as a Catholic, as a Christian? Do you know the relevance of as to why we give special recognition to this Wednesday? Well, we'll be looking into that as the discussions go by. But also, I like what is happening over there when it comes to IGG. And of course, the IG has coming to warn all these leaders, all these officials that will refuse or intend to refuse to declare their assets. Now we're looking at about 24,000 leaders who are going to be expected to declare their assets twice a year once the portal opens. Now, this is very, very interesting because as we know it, there is a tendency by most leaders being a bit complacent, relaxed a bit, and also asking for extension times for them to declare their assets, which I've always wondered, what is this extension time for? Why shouldn't you be very comfortable with declaring what you have if you actually believe that it is genuinely acquired? Well, I love to see where this goes, but again, you know, like how we always say every single morning here, we have to drag a bit when it comes to excitement until we see some of these things are completely being implemented. Well, there is quite a lot of news moving up and about. And of course, I will tell you that we are here to see, especially now that Parliament is coming back from recess. I do expect a lot of discussions to be held in the plenary sittings. Well, first things first, good morning, Felix. Happy Wednesday.
Good morning. How are you, Philomena?
Surviving.
Is it a beautiful Wednesday?
I'm hoping it will be a beautiful Wednesday.
Well, I met somebody somewhere one time that told me as long as I wake up alive, it's going to be a good day.
It's going to be a good day.
So I'm riding on that for now. But Wednesday, Women Crush, you did say,
yes.
A couple of things happening in this country. Before we get lost in anything, I just want to take on my crush. It's just quick to that. And do you guys have like that one auntie who has been there for everyone at some point?
Yes.
Yeah, so for me, it's that auntie I want to crush on. You know, and they'll help in the things that probably will go unnoticed, like washing, like always going to school to help you. You know, those things of pleading when they have sent you home, you know, those things.
Yes.
So for me, I have one, it's called Auntie Kate, or we call them Mama Betty. Quite a lovely woman, so it's my crush today. Sometimes with the midst of whatever is happening in Uganda, we need something beautiful to hold on to. So
we need an auntie.
That's a good one. We need someone to help fix someone, because we can't be lamenting every morning about what's not right in this country.
Absolutely.
We may have to shed a bit of our own.
We need a country auntie.
I tell you.
Well, things are hard. I don't know who that country auntie is going to be, but we hope there can be that one person who can come and, you know, tell us things are going to be all right. We need to relax a little bit. Molen, good morning.
It's a very good morning to you, and I want to say good morning to our viewers. Happy Wednesday, and my excitement is on Ash Wednesday. This is a special period if you look at what we believe in Christian faith. Fasting is one of those virtues that, you know, when you are very much into it, we believe it's the time you actually have your prayers in connection, you feel that direct connection with God. And for me, that's why this period is important, talking about fasting, talking about penance, to prepare ourselves before Easter. While we are going for celebrations and all that, we know that at least we've offered our prayers, we've offered our penance, we've been fasting, and, you know, it's a peaceful period, at least what it is meant to be. Now, there's also something that is quite weird when you ask me about fasting that some Christians believe in. Now, there are people who just fast from just meat. I mean, they can eat anything else. Yes, we know that meat, especially every Friday, you don't have to eat that. But have you seen how people will eat everything else and they will tell you, no, me, I'm fasting. I don't eat meat during this period. So I don't know about that, but I believe that taking a full involvement in the fasting is one way to actually have your prayers right. And this hails from the biblical times. We know that, you know, when you're offering your prayers while fasting, it's a way to connect to God more. So I hope Christians can do that. And by the way, while we pray, Ugandans, please offer your prayers for this country. Pray for this country. I mean, Felix just talked about us lamenting about things that are going wrong in this country. Maybe it's high time that we also turn to God individually and pray that maybe there is a change. I mean, we've seen nations get right as God intervened. So I would give one message for that during this period. Please pray for this country.
You know, fasting really takes a certain kind of discipline. It's not something that everybody can pull off correctly and efficiently. So there is a certain kind of discipline that comes with it. So I hope that kind of discipline is something we get in these next days as we begin the fasting. I don't know if any of you intends to fast, but I would really love to know from you. But Robert, good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning, Molen, Felix, and the entire team. Well, today happens to be a very big day in the Christian faith, which is the beginning of Lent. And Molen put it out clearly that let's not just look at this as something that is coming and going, but this is a time when you must draw closer to God, when you must repent of your sins, and we must see a change in character. Our brothers, the Muslims, when they are fasting, there are certain things you can notice. People even tell you certain things are not moving so well. The demand is very low because Muslims are fasting. We will see a change in character. I know people who are Muslims and do fast, and in that time, they're very good people. The only problem is that after, what happens next? So let's see this period that if you've been this person, short-tempered, you behave in a very funny way. As a Christian, use this time to draw closer to God, so that at the end of the day, the climax of this period, which is Easter, as Christ will be resurrecting, then he will have resurrected along with you, because there have been change of character. This morning, while I was having my prayers, I read in the book of Joel, that is chapter 2, verse 12, that talks about the Lord calling us to repent of our sins because he's merciful, gracious, very kind, and willing to forgive. So this morning, may you start this day with spiritual revival, spiritual renewal, things that we are seeing in this country. Like I was watching the Budgetary Committee of Parliament, where 600 billion was given to Munyonyo Speak Resort for renovation of certain hall ahead of some conference. And the MPs were like, but well, we didn't approve this, we allocated this money for something else. When you look at what is happening in the committee that is about NSSF, all these things, the IGG coming up, and I don't know, sometimes I get confused with the smart Ugandans we have today. In fact, let me use the word evil. Does this still hold water, telling them to declare their wealth? I don't know. Does it still?
My opinion is that the ones who are asking should be the first to declare their wealth, and then we can move on to the others.
Because today...
Yes, because I really have trust issues. Everybody, I have trust issues, so...
Because this is what, for me, why I'm saying...
Watch it.
Should we still do this thing? Has it yielded? You people.
No,
Today when you move,
if we're going to do it, we
when
have
you
to do
move
it
through
for
Kampala here, when you move through Kampala here, and you see sometimes people think the ordinary person does not understand very well, but they will tell you, so and so comes at night, he's guarded, he's touring the building. The other building is for so and so. People declare issues like they have bicycles, they have 2 bajajes, they have, is this thing still holding water? People have property names of their 2-year child, a 2-year owns an arcade.
You guys,
so all these,
relating that to Lent, let me tell you something. I think one of the biggest challenges we struggle with majorly as Africans is the contradiction that comes with religion. And if you're not smart enough, if you're not smart and quite bold to approach religion in a unique spiritual way, you get lost. For example, and I'm going to go to get my ash on my forehead at some time in the day to start off the Lent period. But here's the thing. You can't be fasting about something for 40 days and you'll break this fast celebrating on that same thing. Like, who's fooling who in all this? You say, I'm not going to drink alcohol in all 40 days, but on Easter, you'll buy a crate. So what's the intention?
You sacrificed your need. I don't even know if it's a need at this point.
Deny
So
somebody
it's
something to draw closer to God. because
But
that's
after
what
the
fasting
40
should be.
days, so you only want to draw closer to God
I mean,
for 40
what Felix
days?
is saying is
It's-
fasting should bring you closer to God.
In fact,
to have spiritual renewal and end certain
if
things.
I was given a chance to deliver a homily in church, I would tell my sheep, focus on the things that help you reconnect your soul with God. These bodily things, musige na kulya mputa, nsibye mputa, ntemamba, who cares whether you eat or you don't eat?
How
Like,
does it spiritually?
Actually, these are the people who
No one
will be
cares.
fasting on the chicken and then they are eating the
They-
fish.
that's it.
They just
but
have a
secondly,
subscription
yesterday I was
for it,
having an
and you don't
argument
even
with
see
a,
the
with,
essence
a, with,
in what
a,
they are
with
doing.
a relative who's a priest, and we're asking, how do you tell people to fast meat? Do they even have the meat? How many people can afford meat? So they clearly don't even have any trouble fasting the meat, because
fast
the beans.
you rather tell them to fast beans and guineas, because that one is the most kakati in this Uganda's economy, you tell someone to fast meat, they'll definitely say, I mean, I spend 3 months
I've
without
gone like
eating.
for a couple of months without
It's
the
a
meat,
daily
so
thing.
yes.
So I think we need to change the preaching
The
most
narrative,
recent,
yes.
because the
It needs to
narrative
match
has
the
changed.
economic
Yeah.
times.
Yes, to suit. How do
But even then, you would see someone fasting meat, but they are eating. I mean, it doesn't feel like they are
they can't
fasting.
get
For
the
me,
meat,
it's not.
so they're not actually
For me, it's
fasting.
not even that fasting when you see someone very well having the rest of the meals with them. They have nothing about, fasting. Me, I think the idea of fasting, one thing, is just not enough. If you're fasting, like our brothers and sisters in the Muslim community, their fasting is not about this one thing. And who says when someone is fasting, they are not eating and they are not even comfortable? Fasting is all about making yourself uncomfortable in a way, sacrificing certain things so that you can, like Robert put it, you have prayers drawing you closer to your God. But this whole thing of, no, I'm not going to be eating chicken, but in the side you're taking fish, you're taking meat.
I am not going to be going to
No.
the bars for the 40 days.
Only to get back
But
to the
after
bars
40 days, on the
yeah.
eve of Friday,
Anyway.
you sleep in
But
house.
also,
Anyway, I
we must
cannot
make
wait
sure people do not fast that hard, dry fast. We recently did a story about a pastor who wanted to fast for 40 days, and I think he went for 25.
Yeah, we'll see where we
and
were.
that was the end of it.
And
So
that
if-
is not the only pastor. There are other people I have heard who have tried to do the dry fasting for 40 days,
Yeah.
trying to emulate Jesus, and well, things didn't end well.
But
for them.
you know where it all
can't
starts?
do
It
that.
starts with the kind of message that we have let be or take over churches and our medias. These people who preach these messages, they want to make people feel that they can be Jesus, a new Jesus in the 21st century. But then you come and tell your sheep, if Jesus did it, you can do it. Chitwale, umano chilete, and then you see when
I can't wait to hear what my priest or where I will go to pray from. I really want to hear the homily, what they have to say about this
That
fasting
preaching of
period. It's going to be quite
Chitwale,
interesting.
everything
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll look into the local stories right now and much later on get into the international stories.
we'll begin with the IGG, who has warned and set the 31st of March this very year as the deadline for public servants to declare their assets. Now, the Inspector General of Government, Betty Olive Kamia, said among those to declare include the President, the Vice President, Speaker and Deputy Speaker of Parliament, and the specified officers like judges.
Well, still looking at local stories. Government risks being caught offside in executing a supplementary budget in what Parliament describes as non-priorities. In the process to seek retrospective approval of 3% legal mandate of supplementary request estimated at over 1.3 trillion, Parliament was dissatisfied with excess expenditure, seeking for more clarification from the Ministry of Finance.
Now we go to the General Court Martial, which has tasked prosecution to file a formal application regarding their request, where they want all witnesses to testify in camera in the case where 32 National Unity Platform supporters are accused of unlawful possession of firearms. This comes after prosecution presented to court photos as evidence in this matter. However, they asked court to allow all the witnesses to testify in camera.
A total of 625 UPDF troops serving in the United Nations Guard Unit have today been flagged off to enforce peace under the mandate of the African Transition Mission in Somalia. This follows 7 months mission training at the Peace Support Operations Training Center in Singo, Nakaseke district.
Well, looking at the international stories, Vladimir Putin has sharpened his vitriol towards the West as President Joe Biden, fresh from a visit to Kiev, praised Western democracy for standing up to naked Russian aggression. In a week heavy with events ahead of Friday's anniversary of Russia's Ukraine invasion, Mr. Putin spoke first. The West had enabled Nazi Germany, he claimed, and had turned Ukraine into a neo-Nazi regime that was anti-Russia. Hours later, Mr. Biden said autocrats understood only one word: no, no, no. Putin thought the world would roll over. He was wrong, he said, vowing that NATO was more united than ever. Kyiv stood strong, proud, tall and free, and Western support for Ukraine would not fail, he added. Welcoming him to Warsaw's Royal Castle, Polish President Andrzej Duda said that by traveling to Kyiv, Mr. Biden had shown the free world did not fear anything. Now, looking at North Korea, the country is experiencing a critical food crisis. According to experts, the country is no stranger to chronic food shortages, but border controls, poor weather and sanctions have worsened the situation in recent years. Top officials are expected to meet at the end of February to discuss a fundamental change to agriculture policy, according to state media. This is a very important and urgent task amid pressing farming issues, news aggregator did reports. Now, the news comes as Pyongyang continues its displays of military might, and South Korea's Unification Ministry has reportedly also sounded the alarm on the food shortages and asked the World Food Programme for help. Satellite imagery from South Korean authorities shows that the North produced 180,000 tons less food in 2022 than in 2021.
In another story, Kenya's parliament has ordered an inquiry into allegations of sexual abuse on tea plantations revealed in the BBC report. Lawmaker Beatrice Kamei said she watched the report with utter shock as the BBC found more than 70 women had been abused by their managers at the plantations operated by two British companies, Unilever and James Finley. The two companies say they have suspended the three managers in question and are shocked by the allegations. Now, the Fair Trade Foundation described the allegations as appalling and said that the investigation by BBC African Eye and BBC Panorama were nothing less than a Me Too moment for tea. Ms. Kamei, who serves as the woman representative for tea growing area in Kericho County, said the report highlighted the entrenched sexual harassment at tea multinationals operating in our country. MP Beatrice Elachi said it was unfortunate that such incidents were still taking place. Climate change forecasters have warned for years that the warmer and wetter world created by the climate crisis will drive a surge in mosquito-borne diseases such as malaria and dengue fever. Experts say that in the Pacific Islands, such predictions are now becoming a reality. And the Regional Development Organization, the Pacific Community, says between 2012 and 2021, the Pacific Island members recorded 69 outbreaks of dengue fever, 12 outbreaks of Zika virus, and 15 of the chikungunya virus. The diseases which can sometimes be fatal are also transmitted by mosquitoes that thrive in warm and humid conditions. Disease surveillance by the World Health Organization shows that in the Solomon Island, for instance, malaria cases rose by 40% between 2015 and 2021, and in Papua New Guinea saw incidences of malaria rising by 5% over the same period, with 25% increase in related deaths.
The papers this morning, the New Vision, Museveni rejects a new law on markets, and the president opposes illegal fees and extortion by landlords. Museveni campaigns for Sere NRM candidates, and in the picture over there, you can see the president posing for a group photo with Sere woman MP Helen Adoa and the NRM flag bearer for Sere County parliamentary seat, Philip Ochuo, at Ochapa sub-county, as the president canvassed for Ocho yesterday. Tanzania approves 13 trillion shillings on oil pipeline project. Nabanja asks Minister Chitutu to explain iron sheet diversion. CMI operative reveals how Nigerian killers were tracked, and 14 civil servants fined for not declaring their wealth.
A new health law bites, and of course they give you the breakdown of what will be biting at what point. Now, with eyes on cash, government now reboosts mining, and Serede votes new MP tomorrow. This is why your property is not safe. Now, IGG gives 24,000 leaders 30 days to declare wealth, and new details emerge on OPM iron sheet scandal. Of course, now the lizard comes in and asks Christians asked to emulate Jesus as Lent starts.
Okay.
Jesus. Worshipping.
That message, comprehension is very key.
The child of God.
Comprehension is very key when interpreting that story, because we've seen people do crazy things. But
let's focus on worshiping the Son of God.
Just be the children
being like
God.
Him.
Yeah.
No, but even sing, I want to be more like you, Jesus.
Well, we'll figure that out. But at least one thing for us to emulate, I'm sure, is what Robert has to say to us in terms of your health this morning.
You need to boost your immune system. We have Hallelujah banana drink juice, Hallelujah tamarind drink, and Hallelujah ginger tea. The immune boosters, get yourself one.
Well, it is Good Morning Uganda. We are going in for Song of the Day, today being Women Crash Wednesday, obviously. And when we get back, we'll be having some more interesting discussions here in the newsreel. So we hope to see you then. Good morning. Well, good morning, Uganda, indeed. 22nd of February 2023, Wednesday, and of course, we are here back at it. The grind continues. Well, we come in, of course, to give you information and have conversations and discussions that matter in the wee hours of the day. My name is Philomena Masco, and of course, everybody is in the house. I do have Molen, Felix, and Robert. Today is quite a very special Wednesday when you look at it on the religious front. Now, for my brothers and sisters who subscribe to the Catholic denomination, of course, it's not any Wednesday. It's not an ordinary Wednesday, Ash Wednesday. Now, what does this signify to you as a Catholic, as a Christian? Do you know the relevance of as to why we give special recognition to this Wednesday? Well, we'll be looking into that as the discussions go by. But also, I like what is happening over there when it comes to IGG. And of course, the IG has come in to warn all these leaders, all these officials that will refuse or intend to refuse to declare their assets. Now we're looking at about 24,000 leaders who are going to be expected to declare their assets twice a year once the portal opens. Now, this is very, very interesting because as we know it, there is a tendency by most leaders being a bit complacent, relaxed a bit, and also asking for extension times for them to declare their assets, which I've always wondered, what is this extension time for? Why shouldn't you be very comfortable with declaring what you have if you actually believe that it is genuinely acquired? Well, I love to see where this goes, but again, you know, like how we always say every single morning here, we have to drag a bit when it comes to excitement until we see some of these things are complete. Well, good morning, Uganda, indeed. 22nd of February 2023, Wednesday. And of course, we are here back at it. The grind continues. Where we come in, of course, to give you information and have conversations and discussions that matter in the wee hours of the day. My name is Philomena Masco, and of course, everybody is in the house. I do have Molen, Felix, and Robert. Today is quite a very special Wednesday when you look at it on the religious front. Now, for my brothers and sisters who subscribe to the Catholic denomination, of course, it's not any Wednesday. It's not an ordinary Wednesday, Ash Wednesday. Now, what does this signify to you as a Catholic, as a Christian? Do you know the relevance of as to why we give special recognition to this Wednesday? Well, we'll be looking into that as the discussions go by. But also, I like what is happening over there when it comes to IGG. And of course, the IG has coming to warn all these leaders, all these officials that will refuse or intend to refuse to declare their assets. Now we're looking at about 24,000 leaders who are going to be expected to declare their assets twice a year once the portal opens. Now, this is very, very interesting because as we know it, there is a tendency by most leaders being a bit complacent, relaxed a bit, and also asking for extension times for them to declare their assets, which I've always wondered, what is this extension time for? Why shouldn't you be very comfortable with declaring what you have if you actually believe that it is genuinely acquired? Well, I love to see where this goes, but again, you know, like how we always say every single morning here, we have to drag a bit when it comes to excitement until we see some of these things are complete. Well, good morning, Uganda, indeed. 22nd of February 2023, Wednesday. And of course, we are here back at it. The grind continues. Where we come in, of course, to give you information and have conversations and discussions that matter in the wee hours of the day. My name is Philomena Masco, and of course, everybody is in the house. I do have Molen, Felix, and Robert. Today is quite a very special Wednesday when you look at it on the religious front. Now, for my brothers and 22nd of February 2023, and good morning, Uganda. Thank you for joining us for the newsreel this morning, this Wednesday morning. My name is Philomena Masco, and I am with Felix Nkunda. Today is Ash Wednesday, and it's quite necessary for us maybe to, remind ourselves why we are celebrating or why we are commemorating Ash Wednesday. Of course, we do have two things we would love to talk about on the agenda this morning. The relevance of today, but much later on, also looking at the declaration of all the assets as asked by the IGG to several government officials. All of that we'll be getting into the discussion this morning between myself and Felix. And of course, you can always be part of this conversation. Get into our socials. Let us know if you feel this will actually give proper accountability and also create transparency in the form of wealth acquisition, especially by these government officials. But also go ahead and tell us what you take of Ash Wednesday, what this day means to you. Well, our lines are open. Get onto our WhatsApp, 0709602592. Make use of our Twitter, #UBCGMU. Felix, this Ash Wednesday, what does Ash Wednesday actually mean? Do you know that, I don't know if during Omujiji is when they taught us these things, but I know that Ash Wednesday for sure, people will go to church, and don't even be surprised today when you see people's foreheads with the cross in white ash as the day goes by. But what relevance does it carry, especially for the Christian community? Maybe if we start from there.
Do you remember the triumphant entry?
Yes, of course.
What
Yes,
do you
of
remember
course.
about the triumphant?
The Palm Sunday when Jesus was entering, was it? It was a donkey.
Yes.
And a donkey, and people were carrying those palm leaves and everything and shaking
It was a sign of bit of royalty, kingship, and
yes,
that kind of thing. So the reason why do you know why we use those palms? Because they're the ones we burn for Ash Wednesday.
For the Ash Wednesday, yes.
So from it was part of, it's a cycle of glory. We praise you, we have worshipped you. This that we have used to worship you, we shall also use symbolically to take us through a process to purify. Lent is related by far to purification. However, and it's a double one. You can look at it in the sense of spiritual purification and physical purification. It all works together for the good of the same. So because of this purification process we are going into, it is religiously. You see, the Catholic Church in particular, it does work with a lot of religious practices, if you've been keen to notice.
Yes.
So you notice that some of these things are purposely for the purpose of fulfilling their religious practices, and which is what will happen today. You will go and be put that sign of the cross in your forehead as symbolic for us to take on what will happen through the 40 days. However, as we said much earlier, Philomena, the most important concentration should be given to these 40 days. How do you get in them?
Yes.
And how do you live out of them? The best evaluation will be given at the end of the 40 days, but the evaluation must also be related to where you are vis-a-vis where you intend to be, having gone through the 40 days. Lent is an opportunity for us as a country, and mostly in times like this, to draw back to the center of power in the sense of God. We should use this time to grow back to the center of power. Here's the most painful thing in regards to that in as much as every other thing is possible or possibly in place for us to take pick of, we always miss the point of Lent.
Yes.
And that's the most painful thing. As we said again earlier, I'll quote from what we were discussing much earlier, that it has been a common practice for people to, and I think it is also a bit of a challenge of the church, mostly the Catholic Church, that they have failed to transit from the old style of doing this. As I've told you, for example, every Friday you're not supposed to eat meat.
Yes, it's
truth be
completely
told,
off. Yes.
Truth be told, you only have a handful of people who eat meat.
Yes.
And not only a handful.
It's become, it's like a lifestyle now.
It becomes as good as
people.
useless.
Yes.
So for you to make them go and fast for something they can't, it's not available. So I think we just need to be intentional about this fasting, but we also must use it to grow deeper. In my opinion,
Yes.
I normally intend to go through this period growing and deeper and definitely closer to God, because I rarely focus on my physical things, that I don't eat this, I want to do this.
Yes.
No, because what's the use of me, unless I'm going to lose this habit in the 40 days and I'll never go to it. But if I'm not willing to do that, I guess I'm going to focus on my spirit.
I mean, there are people who also fast, but they don't accompany that with prayer. I don't know how that even works. Somebody will tell
Prayer
me,
is...
I will not go to the bar, I will not eat, and that's just about it.
No, but tell you what about prayer, Philomena, prayer is entirely a personal thing. You don't meet God because you have there's goodness in fellowshipping, but it doesn't guarantee that you've been. Prayer is entirely a personal thing, and the earlier we know that, the better. It's not that people who don't go to church don't pray. We have said that
No,
time and
I
again.
mean,
people
spare
who
minutes
don't.
at your home, you don't even necessarily
Do you
have
know
to go
the
to
various
church.
forms of prayer? I'll tell you, one of them is singing. We can make prayer with our own behaviors. Is it good enough people who pray a lot and they don't use their lives as prayers?
Of course not.
Like you've heard of people musajja omusumbo naye ayine pisembi. Having prayed those very good prayers, you come on a pulpit, then you attack everyone, you abuse everyone. So what's the use of the prayer? I think that we should leave to individuals to deal with themselves. Check yourself, but most importantly, just be this. I think it's good to have some kindness. Be kind a bit in this Lent period. Reach out. I think one thing I believe in as the best way to use for Lent or for fasting is to always reach out.
Yes.
Sharing, giving a hand in any form. There are many opportunities. The world that we live in has given us an opportunity for many things we can do for the other people. So I think for me, by and brief, that would be what I would. I mean, I'm being very intentional about this year's Lent.
Yes.
Spiritually, I'm spiritually alive.
I feel like it should actually always be more spiritual driven, aside from the physical things we are looking at.
Absolutely.
The things we are giving attention. What happens to the people who don't do anything? They don't pray, they don't sing, they don't go to church, they don't fast. Those, I guess, we need to pray for them.
No, they're all God's children.
They're all God's children.
And in the eyes of
Aren't
God,
we lucky though?
I'm telling you, and you see the Bible is clear about such kind of people. Those who know not much shall not be asked much. But you who knows the much will definitely be questioned on that much that you know. Someone will not do any of these things because they don't know better. Maybe they weren't raised to go to church, and it catches up with them. But they're all children of God. They are loved. And God's love is immense. The net is wide. You know, when God throws a net in the ocean or the sea, He's not intentional about picking out. He throws, and what comes in, whichever does, He gives the grace. It's as simple as that. The grace is very sufficient of God.
Well, there you go. Today, Christians, of course, very many Christians will be heading to the churches to have mass and, have that a sign of cross put on their foreheads with that ash, of course, in commemoration of Ash Wednesday. So I hope that the next 40 days can be wonderful days for us, for our spiritual nourishments, and also to be very kind people in our society. We're living in harsh times, so the best you can do right now is be a little bit graceful towards each other and be very kind. And of course, go on, let us know what your expectations are during this Lent season. What do you intend on doing during this Lent season? But also, how do you intend to spend these 40 days? Well, we will get into that, but as of course we go on. But now, looking at the second topic on the agenda, looking at the declaration of the assets that we did talk about earlier on, as of course asked by the IGG. Now, the IGG, that is the inspector. That is the Inspector General of Government, has given in quite a number of days. Those are 30 days, a deadline of 30 days to 24,000 leaders. And she has asked them to come out and be able to declare quite a number of things. And these 24,000 people, of course, belong to different categories of people. So during the month of March, she intends to be doing that. And she was actually talking to the media yesterday, telling them how she actually wants this exercise to be launched on Wednesday next week. And there are several things that, of course, are expected to be declared by, as she was addressing. And she was saying that any leader who will not have declared by March 31st will be in violation of the law. And earlier on, again, we talked about some of the categories she was looking at. She did talk about the president, she talked about the vice president, the prime minister, even some of the judicial officials, the judges. Now, looking at this, I mean, we have seen quite a number of corruption stories. We've seen, and this is not the first time, again, we are seeing the IGG asking for declarations to be made by these leaders. My question here, though, Felix, is that will this create any change when it comes to transparency and accountability? Because we need to know some of these things that are the assets specifically that are acquired by some of these people are questionable. I mean, how many times have we talked about when you look at the salary pays of some of these civil servants, and when you equate them vis-a-vis some of the assets they have, you start wondering, but how do these people acquire these things? Now, of course, now there are questions of accountability, there are questions of transparency, and this is how even some of these leaders are related to corruption cases. Do you think this is going to help in clarifying some of these questions?
Now, doing a lifestyle audit was one of the first approach they looked at. Now they're coming to declaration, which has been there anyway for quite a time. But Philomena, let's be honest. Have you heard of those stories where someone's landlord won't let you eat chicken before you've paid rent? They'll come and say, oh, you're But when you look at it from all folds, from the landlord's aspect, they'll say, but man, be serious. Let me tell you a very painful story. I hope my friend is not watching the one I'm going to talk about.
I will deliver the story to them.
This guy, I lent him some money. It's coming to about 3 years. And the guy has not paid that money. Now, the guy gives me a call and tells me, hey, bro, how are you? I'm like, hey, good, good. It's been a long time. Yeah. I was like, man, I don't know. I just want to invite you to my wedding. I'm like, okay. You're making a wedding before you have paid me? And I had a problem with that.
Yes.
Now, one of the things we are not in direct control of is the fact that we cannot control how people live and what they live on. It is not conclusively true that 1 + 1 will equal to 2. That is for the academia. Okay? But when you put 2 1s together, you may get an 11. And it has happened. It is not obvious.
Yes.
That when you put 1 and 1, you see, it's just about how you see it. When you see a 9, someone sees a 6. It's where you stand and how you see things. It is not conclusive that when you see this thing of declaration cannot be the sole remedy. Because under the mandate of the IGG to help aver and also bring to book some of the offenders of the nation in terms of corruption and all these illegalities that move with finances, may need you to use that for some special circumstances. The allegation you said earlier is quite interesting. When you say that people's salaries are not quite in tandem with actually what they possess, yes. What is wrong with that? One will ask you what is wrong with that. Some people invest wiser, others invest, I don't want to say stupidly, but well, it is what it is.
Yes.
Have you kept track from the time Philomena entered public service?
Yes.
Did you take what we call, did you take stock at the time of entry? You know, you're jumping to people after 15 years?
Yes, yes. There is a lot that could have accumulated in the 15 years.
Sometimes I look, sometimes I look at people with a funny face and they say, I belittle them. But you enter into a premise, someone doesn't check your car. Probably when you're coming out,
they're checking your car.
Who's fooling who? Who's the fool here? Is it the car, the driver, or the checker? You get the point?
Yes.
At the point of entry, is there an audit to know on your janachi? What? Or you want to look at them after 5? You can't. No, you can't have the right results unless you're saying that as a binding probably recommendation from the IGG to public service and civil servants that whoever is being employed, let's take stock on what they have come with in terms of wealth or assets or whatever. How will you know what they made before you? You know.
So this is the right strategy at the wrong time.
I don't know if it is right. Probably in the eyes of the people who are executing it is right. But in my opinion, I think there's a lot that is missing for you to have it being working for the best of the intention. Philomena, if we are to deal with corruption, don't you think we have chosen to take on, you see, I'm going to use a couple of stories today, I guess. Like, have you been to a fireplace? Do you know what they use to start the fire? Have you ever lit like a fireplace?
Well, those logs of wood.
No, not gas.
No,
You're talking about loads of wood.
Logs of wood,
You
yes.
start with the smallest. You go tear. In fact, I remember we used to tear off the peelings of the. Mostly Karitusi is the good one that gives it. But you tear off. You start with the peelings. You're starting to light the fire. You start with the smallest until then you start putting, and they go in proportion. What have we have started with putting the log instead of starting with the peelings. Our argument is not about, and by the way, we are not very much interested in arresting people who have stolen money. Our interest lies majorly, much more in avoiding this money from being taken. How about we focus on tightening? Today you're going to look at a lifestyle audit, but they are calling you, hey guys, run, IGG, come to OPM.
Yes.
What I'm about? Someone is taking iron sheets. You get the point?
Yes.
As for you focusing on auditing, a declaration, someone is taking iron sheets.
And I mean, look at it this way. They're calling them now probably because they're taking this, but they could have taken much more.
That is what I'm saying, that
yes.
we should focus on no one taking.
There shouldn't be a gap for them to take anything.
There's another story, I think was in the papers, about the money that was taken without authorization of Parliament.
Of Parliament, yes.
Last time I told you something here, and I told you, people, when you talk about government money, you make it look like someone keeps it there, you can just come and take. Do you know the process of getting money from the consolidated fund?
You don't just pick it from one drawer.
I have acted in capacity of a lawyer for a couple of clients who have had those demands from. Man, the people you see, the paperwork you do, you look for that permanent secretary, the man, Dr. Ramadan. You look for that man. That's when you will know that is real government money. By the time they pay you, now when someone says that someone sold government money, I honestly, I think we have different, government money is not that, it is available. There are processes. I think the IGG is going to lose the point if they don't refocus on tightening the avenues that make us lose money. If you, and it is good for you it is good for you to bring the people who have taken money to book. Like you used to be in school, you remember they used to tell you, well, when you're doing, let's imagine you're answering questions. They always tell us, start with these points.
Yes.
This one can come on number 10, but they can't ask you, for example, why do we eat food? Then in as much as someone will tell you to grow fat. That could be an answer. Or to grow out. But the first answer probably should be to get energy. You can't come and say in the first answer probably want to put because my sister was eating. It can be a true answer, relatively. Or probably one can say because mommy gave me the food. You get the point?
Yes.
That's a true answer. But we can't start with that. This approach is very important and key and useful. But that can't be our major area of focus. Because at that point we have lost already. And the question I asked earlier, do we do the audit at entry for us to enable our audit later on?
So that we can keep track and see. Well, we are looking at assets declaration. IGG gave an ultimatum of 31st March 2023. And she did say that any leader that is actually expected to declare their assets, to declare their wealth. If they don't do it, clearly there is a lot at stake. And of course, they were looking at people who accumulate wealth in unrecognizable and probably illegal ways.
Philomena,
yes.
Just between you and me, what is unrecognizable and what is illegal in this country?
Well, if you get money in a wrong way, probably we have seen money that has been money that is supposed to be used for different projects, for government projects, and other people are using this money for...
At 500 million and I said it 2 billion. Is it wrong, a wrong way?
It shouldn't be a wrong way. It's not wrong. But the only wrong way would be where did you get the money to buy that land, the 500 million? If it is your personal money, well and good. If it is money that is supposed to run a different project, a government project, money that is actually supposed to be benefiting a different category of people,
how did I
and you use it for, I mean, we have seen this happening. We are talking about corruption every now and then. So they probably want to handpick all these people. But my issue is we should start with the ones who want to handpick.
And you see, I think, by the way, the biggest stakeholder to assist in this is what we call the government. You should formulate probably a government portal. And elsewhere in the world, it works. That someone is tracked on how they pay the council taxes. We track your earnings. It is hard for you to find a nurse, let's say someone doing nurse or healthcare in the Europe, they know how much they earn. Like, it's already on the system. But how do you know that if you don't want, one, as a country, you're scared to pass the minimum wage?
Yes.
You don't have a category on how you pay people. Secondly, what's the number of people in formal working sector vis-a-vis those in informal? How many people live on formal ways of life vis-a-vis those who don't actually? Now, and how do you, someone has been doing probably, like they say in Uganda, it's called kuiriwa.
Yes.
For about 3-4 years, then they get a job in. How do you account that? Like, it's
Now, my question though here is, Felix, we're looking at also the previous cases. In fact, out of some of the 31 people that have been previously sanctioned for non-declaration of assets, 10 of these were convicted and others were fined, while others were cautioned. And as of now, we actually have about 19 ongoing cases that are in the tribunal. And I mean, for me, fined and also cautioned, what is this going to actually do? How do you caution? What is the criteria that is used to caution people who have failed to declare? Again, doesn't that show that there are people who are bigger than the law? Because the IG herself did actually say, if you don't do this, then you are acting against the law. So the ones who actually have the audacity to refuse to declare.
The beauty is that the IGG has been in government for some time.
You're just cautioning them, that's it?
I mean...
Should we be happy with that? Should we be very comfortable with that? Well, I caution these people because they refuse to declare, and we are happy, we go, we will walk away and go.
It's provided for, I guess. It's provided for that. That's one of the punishments. Probably they were remorseful, they didn't disturb the commission, they didn't, all these things. But it takes us back to one thing, Philomena. The decadence, the moral decadence. And this starts from the kind and fashion of lenient leadership that we have called upon ourselves as a country. Many people will tell you that people have acquired wealth in a way that is surprising or shocking. You want them to acquire wealth in a way that is not shocking, which is which way? As long as you make the bread available, it will be eaten.
Someone will actually grab it
It will
and
be
eat it.
eaten, whether by human beings, rats, cockroaches, there'll be someone to eat that bread. How about we don't make it available? And for me, that's the major area of focus. You see, sometimes our institutions in this country are on pressure to be seen as doing something. That's why they always have these various launches, project this, project this, project this, project this. Before you know, lifestyle audit. Because where did that end? They are going to, do you remember that there was that time when that was talked about?
Yes.
Where did that end? What did it yield?
What was the aftermath? Who was a culprit? Did we have any culprits?
What is the IGG report on the issues at the Entebbe airport? Which is the, if you're struggling to look for the thieves, we have brought them to you. We don't want you to spend your money. The good Ugandans have gotten the videos. They even have people's faces. First, give us that report. What have we done about whistleblowing? NSSF is here. First, there are cases in law we call res ipsa loquita. In these cases, facts speak for them.
Yes.
Selves. Even when you go to court, you can simply say, Your Honor, I came here to say good morning, as the matters are presented in the private plaint we did, and we are willing to proceed. And that is all you will say. And the judge will say, because everything is written out. These cases, we are putting focus on the things that, but let's start with this one. Philomena, let's not be, and you see there's something called playing to the gallery. And this is the biggest mistake of politicians. We have found solace in news, making news, press conferences, calling. That doesn't help us.
Yes.
Trust me, the news will look for all these people when there's something to break through. The money we lose in corruption as a country can aid very much of the things in this country. The people who are supposed to declare, and we're not, as I told you, we're not saying people shouldn't declare, but that is not the first thing to be done. And I will understand to be corrected. When you talk about fighting corruption, don't you think we should be spending some of these monies training the investigators who do these investigations of corruption? But you're not going to get a general investigator of police, a person who trained probably to investigate murder, and you want him to investigate a financial crime. What do they know about these syndicates? How account? So there's a big challenge we are struggling with in having the right people doing the right things. But the big question is, does that bring us to the same point of our desire? Lifestyle audit was talked about. Now we're talking about declaration. Who to declare, who not to declare. Like, what are you looking for out of the declaration? It's a bit challenging, I'll be honest with you. It's a bit challenging, regardless of the fact that it could be backed up by the law, but nevertheless, does it yield what we desire? You're going to end up arresting people and imprisoning people, and then does the money come back? If you're saying when we get the people who have accumulated wealth in funny ways, we shall sell their properties if we have, and this money shall be brought back to the country. Have we gone that far? So when you find out that probably Philomena has A, B, C, D, then you take her through court, you're probably in court for about 10 years, and then before you know, the ministers have changed, the IGGs have changed like 7 times in those 10 years.
Well, there is a roadmap.
This that they see,
yes,
these things are good for the gallery. For us, the media, the news, sometimes it is good for the newsroom in case they are missing to record. So,
looking for a news story.
But yeah, they need to fix time that, news has to run. But in actual sense, it's going to be hard for them to break through.
Well, there is a roadmap for these declarations before, during, and even after declarations. It actually did start from last year, September, October 2022. But as right now, looking at February 2023, there should be an engagement with the local government accounting officers, and of course looking at these officers and telling them, or explaining to them their role during these declarations. But come 1st March 2023, there will be the launch of the declaration period 2023, and this is going to be happening in Lira. It will be, of course, launched by the Right Honorable Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda in Lira City. Then we have the RDC's district chairpersons, chief administrative officers, the DPCs, and all focal persons from the districts of Amolatar, Alebtong, Park, looking at a Park municipality, Dokolo, Kole, Kwanya, Lira City, Otuke, and Oyam. Everybody has actually been invited to come and attend. Then come 6th of March 2023, the IGG and the deputy IGGs will be declaring to the Right Honorable Speaker. Of course, they'll be submitting their declarations to the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, and the Speaker will also be declaring to the IGG. And looking at 14th of March, public engagement on the declaration in Mbale as well. And Thursday, 9th to 16th and 23rd March 2023, there'll be a virtual support training for the leaders. So there is quite a roadmap, and I am telling you, Felix, I'm actually going to do a follow-up on this. I need to know what's going to come out of all of this, whether it's just exciting us and leaving it at that, or there is something that is actually going to come out of all this. And 31st March, of course, 2023 will be the end of the declaration period. Remember, they say this is going to be happening twice this year. So I don't know, after this, maybe like you are talking about tracking, probably this is part of the system that they are doing, tracking and seeing if this is what you had at the start of this year, how has it accumulated towards the end of the year. And there should be continuity of this maybe next year and next year. Like I said, it's never too late to start. We cannot always complain and complain.
It feels like we are complaining.
Well,
Does it feel that way?
No, it doesn't feel like we are complaining.
Bringing out the issues that bite you, us.
No, it's not necessarily
complaining.
that we. Okay, well, maybe probably for a lack of a better word, we can't keep talking about
and that's
it.
the feeling of
not
Ugandans.
talking about. Yes, that's true. But then we have to probably give them credit and see. We are not saying we are happy with what they're doing, but give them a benefit of doubt.
What us to credit the roadmap.
That is why I said I'm going to do a follow-up and see their performance.
You
if
want
actually
us
something,
to sit here
if something is going to come out of
and
all of this,
excite ourselves about a roadmap.
I am not saying we need to get excited about that. No, Felix, I'm not saying we need to get excited about this. I am saying we need to give them a benefit of doubt. This, they said, is going to happen twice a year. And that's why I said I'm going to do a follow-up and actually see if this is going to happen. And now we'll have...
we have given them a benefit of
we'll
doubt.
have legitimate reason to call them out and tell us, but you people, you told us the whole month of March this is going to happen. What came out of all of this? I'll probably have them come here and sit and tell us.
Off camera, I'll tell you what will happen
yes.
at the end of it. But let me say this, probably for me, Philomena. You know, we suffer from a political magnified and over-exaggerated relevancy. Politics in Uganda and many third world countries is exaggerated. And that's why things may not go as normal as they should, because politics is exaggerated. You get the point. And when politics is exaggerated, red tape is at the forefront. Procedure. You need a procedure to arrest you see someone taking something, but you need a procedure to arrest, yet you see them. For them, they are not using the procedure to take whatever they are taking, but you want to use a procedure to curtail that.
A drug procedure.
We have seen the people who are taking Ugandan money, but we are waiting for a procedure, for an authority, for an institution, because it's the one with a constitutional mandate. But we are seeing someone taking. You get the point?
Yes.
We have chosen a very fake approach to the things that we say we don't like. And that has caused us to question whether we actually don't like these things. Like you asked the question, how about you first do an audit to you who are going to do these funny things here? Because, and let me tell you, something you asked yesterday, whenever politics supersedes legalism or the legalese, you cannot reign over. Let's be honest and honest to ourselves. You cannot take on everyone in this country on terms of corruption. We have seen it. This is not our own making. It's all over the news.
Yes.
Records are there. Do you think it is all fairness? When you talk about enforcing the abuse of processes, are you sure the IGG has the power to ask every public servant in this country to declare? Do you think?
Especially from the categories that they have mentioned.
It's now. Do you know why she doesn't have she may not have the nerve? Actually, she may have the powers, but does she have the nerve? That's the question. Do you know why? There's a lingering, ugly face of something called politics. There's a cloud of something called politics. Because at the end of the tale, the IGG is also a politician who was appointed by a political head of a country. So, can the monkey decide a case to cut the forest where it lives? So how far will she go in this journey? As I said earlier, this is very beautiful for fulfilling a bulletin. These stories are good for fulfilling a bulletin. Mawile go kusaawa ebbiri tuyina mu IGG ajja kuba tuwulira. So that's good. But in actual sense, that move may not go far. And I feel for her, Honorable Betty.
You do?
I feel for her. I know the pain because she's out there saying, I can do this, but she knows she can't do it. I can do this, but at the end of the day, we are waiting to see. As you say, let's give them the benefit of doubt.
That's a cross that she's going to carry. She has to give explanations as to why, if it did happen. So, I mean, everything comes at a price.
Thank you for saying it. I like the fact that you see it that way, but who's paying the cost? That's the whole question. Anyway, the beauty is that all this will happen in between Lent. With the magnanimity, the blessings of God may reign, and probably some people will be fasting.
Yes.
So we don't know what, maybe there will be.
We can always wait when Lent is done, and we can always bring up this issue. Follow-up is very key. It's a very hard paper. Anyway, looking at the Daily Nation this morning, storm over constituency boundaries, and proponents of 1 person, 1 shilling campaign want more units. Cheaper food on the way at state as state allows duty-free imports, and protest over plan to abolish allowance. Okay. And state jobs, Raila accuses Ruto of tribalism.
He'll be fine.
There is that.
Raila will be fine. She's just struggling with it's called post-election disorder. He'll be fine. Everyone goes through it.
We'll go for a break. When we get back, Bolen will be in the house to give us more on weather and climate. Good morning.
Who's not tribal in this?
Accessing your contacts the old way. Accessing your contacts with the My Airtel app. The power in your pocket. The power to access your favorite contacts right through the app. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now. partisan.
Honorable Minister, there were a number of points. I want to start with you.
Straight from the hearts of open-minded men and women.
Money tends to move faster at night. So
when people are not counting,
Don't take it for granted.
Candid and authentic.
Because Uganda is not Thailand.
That's not correct, and we should stop that kind of mentality. So what I'm saying
That's
is
a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Tell him you speak Luo.
I think that's where we are beginning to have a problem.
Was brought to you by
Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transaction. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Franz Fanon said, "Each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it." I know a man who, in fulfilling his life's mission, has raised the foundations of many generations.
With Kampala captured and the leader of the National Resistance Army, Yoweri Museveni, now president, their task is to move forward until they make contact with the UNLA troops.
You see, the NRM is being naturally aligned to either the East or the West.
No, we are aligned with Uganda and with Africa. This assumption of Western countries or some outside countries that we must either be for the East or for the West is actually racist, to say the least, because we have got our own interests, and these are the ones we are pushing. And if we have got allies, those who agree with us, as far as our interests are concerned, then they are our friends.
Good morning, Uganda. Now it is time we look at our roads and see how the traffic situation looks like. We'll be looking at areas of Kololo. If you're also coming in from Lugogo, Nakawa, joining main town or central town, we want to look at the roads that could be easier for you. And for those that have a bit of traffic, maybe for you to be aware and program yourself accordingly. Now we do have at least the roads coming in from Tororo indicating green lines, meaning that that is Kororo area. We're looking at clear traffic for this morning. We're also looking at if you're coming in from Nakawa, and it looks like we also have a bit of traffic building up over there, but that does clear on as you head into the main Kampala Jinja Highway. Now we also look at Old Port Bay Road. If you're coming in from areas of Bugolobi, you do have a bit of clear traffic right over there, indicated by the green line, so meaning that that is quite a good area for you to use. And also you could probably choose to avoid the upper road coming in from Nakawa, as the Old Port Bay Road seems to be having clear traffic for this morning. You're also looking at, as you're joining into Kampala Jinja Highway, right as you get into the city center, from the traffic lights right there, you have Access Road, which has a bit of traffic that is quite intense over there. Now only for the areas coming in from the downer side of Mukwano, that area using Access Road, it looks like there is traffic right there. And also you do have the roads that are joining in from Yusufure all the way, also those connecting from Nile Avenue. You do have a bit of traffic that builds up just around on the roundabout. But then again, following the Kampala Jinja Highway, you have a few areas where you have intense traffic, but that is just a small distance. And as you connect to Kampala Road, it looks like that is mostly green lines, indicating quite clear traffic for you this morning. Now we also want to take a look at the satellite images coming in to indicate how the weather situation is across the country. We will be tapping in from the EUMETSAT satellites and see what Uganda is looking like this morning. We are seeing mostly a very dry weather across much of the country. We also have a few clouds that are starting to develop across areas of the Lake Victoria Basin, but we do expect that most of those might actually bring in rains, especially towards the central and the western part of Lake Victoria Basin. We're looking at areas of Masaka right now. They're starting to build up in terms of clouds, and those might bring in rains later on as the morning progresses. We also have a rainy system that is also developing for areas of central. That is already bringing us cloudy weather across areas of Kampala. Now that is where we're seeing the orange and the green colors right there on the map. That is indicating the rainy system right there. And it is moving westwards, so meaning that it could bring us rains even for most areas within the central parts of Lake Victoria, Mukono, Wakiso. We could be looking at a few showers for you for today. And that could also cross over into southwestern Uganda, Mbarara as well, already starting to develop with those cloudy conditions, so most likely they will be bringing in rains. We also have a few clouds starting to develop around Fort Portal towards areas of Renzori. We could be looking at least temperatures being a bit down compared to what we were dealing with yesterday. Otherwise, the rest of the country where we have the darker colors, that is indicating quite some clear skies, meaning that we could be looking at mostly in terms of sunny and cloudy conditions for you over there. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at the forecast for this morning, and that will be coming in from Uganda National Meteorological Authority, also looking at what we expect for this morning. Now the western side of Lake Victoria, that is where we have Masaka, Kalisi, Zosembabule and Rakai. We are expecting isolated showers. Those will be coming in later as the morning progresses, and that will be starting off at a warm 27 degrees. Now we look at southwestern Uganda. That is where we have Mbarara, we have Ibanda, Bushenyi and Rubirizi. We are forecasting isolated rains. Also those will be coming in later as the day progresses, starting off with a maximum of 26 degrees for this morning. Mount Elgon Highlands, Mbale, Bududa, Buko and Zironko, we're forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine, and quite hot over there, starting off at 29 degrees. Most likely we'll also be continuing with sunny intervals later in the afternoon, so temperatures will be equally high for most of those areas there. The eastern side of Lake Victoria, that is where we have Tororo, Busia, Iganga and Jinja. We're also likely to have rains come through for later in this morning, starting off warm at 28 degrees. Now we're looking at Soroti, Katakwi, Amuria and Kumi. Most likely also we'll be having a repeat of yesterday, as we're starting off with intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. Temperatures already at 32, quite a hot morning over there, and that will only get hotter as we expect a continuation of sunny conditions even later in the afternoon. Now the eastern side of Central, Ruwero, Woblenzi, Bururi and Nakaseke, we are forecasting isolated showers that will be starting off with a warm 29 degrees centigrade, and also likely that those rains will clear as we head into the afternoon. So we might continue with mostly warm weather over there. We're looking at the central part of Lake Victoria, where we have Mukono, Kampala, Wakiso. We're forecasting isolated rains. Those will also be starting off with a 27 degrees centigrade. That will be later in the day, and also most likely that will help to keep temperatures down for that area. The central part of northern Uganda, that is where we have Adjumani, Gulu, Kitgum and Badal. We're looking at mostly a sunny morning. We have intervals of cloudy conditions, but very, very high temperatures at 33 this morning, meaning that that is quite hot, and it is only getting hotter as well, as we expect sunny conditions to prevail even later as we head towards evening. Now, also, we want to look at what is happening outside of Uganda. We follow up a story on the flooding in Brazil right now. We have reports confirming that so far 46 people have died from the flooding in Sao Paulo. This has been triggered by intense rainfall and downpours that did actually come in through as we started the weekend. And so far, even up to now, we have more people that are still dying from this disaster or this extreme event. Hundreds of rescuers are searching on ground right from yesterday to see more damages or even see if there is recovery. But otherwise, a lot of homes have been put down, and we already know that the president of Brazil did come out actually himself to visit the area in Sao Paulo, where we know that nearly 800 people were left homeless and 1,730 people have been displaced due to this flooding. Now, also, you do see some of the armed forces, some of the rescue operations going on, and of course aimed at making sure that they can clear off the aftermath of the flooding, and of course make sure that at least this area can be occupied once again. Now, precipitation in Sao Paulo, even over the years, they have looked at about 600 millimeters of rainfall in just 24 hours for this weekend alone. Now, comparably, that would mean that this is enough rain to actually trigger intense flooding. Now, that is not on a normal or on a daily for them, and it is among the largest downpour ever in the short period in Brazil. That is according to the local agency that is talking about the weather situation in Sao Paulo. Now, President Luiz also did talk about the fact that they need to relocate, and he has urged that government should put in all efforts to make sure that they are able to relocate. Now, also heavy rains have affected water, electricity, and phone service, according to the statement. And so far, what we do know just a few hours ago is that there are still relatives that are reporting that their people are missing, and probably they could still be buried in the debris, and of course a lot of buildings that collapsed, so meaning that we could see a death toll rising from this. Now, it's also bad news coming in from Madagascar as we look at Cyclone Freddy that now finally made landfall yesterday evening across Madagascar. And well, authorities were on ground already since Cyclone Freddy was forecast to land in Madagascar. Already they had made evacuations, but unfortunately, even as we speak, one person has died from the intense effects of the cyclone, that is the flooding and the extreme winds that did come across from this area. Now, this was last evening, and so far, even right now, as it has landed, we do know that it is starting to weaken, so meaning that we could see, relaxed effects across Madagascar. However, it is still on course to hit the rest of the eastern part of coastal South Africa, and that means that we could be looking at more events from this cyclone. What we do know is that Madagascar's government has suspended schools and transport in the path of tropical cyclone Freddy, which made landfall, that is to the southeastern area, and of course it has caused a storm surge, ripping off roofs of houses, and of course now with one person reported to have died from this cyclone. Now, we also know that a lot of efforts have been put on the most likely areas to be hit by cyclones in Mozambique as well, where we're looking at still Mozambique being in a path of tropical cyclone Freddy. They are already expecting the effects of this cyclone, and they are also putting a lot of operations in ground. and it is now projected that by Friday it could have reached Mozambique and might cause more significant weather conditions or worse. Now, we also have a lot of agencies on ground that are forecasting this, including the Meteorological Agency in Madagascar as well as Mozambique, and they're looking at the cyclone having so far around 60 miles per hour in terms of the winds, and of course associated with very, very intense flooding that could occur with gale force winds, meaning that that will include destruction of property that could actually also harm lives, and it is feared that up to 2.2 million people could actually be affected by these storm surges that are associated with the tropical cyclone. What we have seen is so far also the coastal areas have been worst affected, but also it is predicted that by the time it makes landfall again to the areas of Mozambique, we could be looking at very reduced effects over there. Now, also, we're still talking about mostly flooding for much of Africa. Now, South Africa, especially the coastal area, has been mostly a hotspot for most of these effects of tropical cyclones. So we could be looking at much more of that. And obviously, even as we speak, we know that it has already made landfall, and we've already seen reduction in its strength. But still, it is feared that as it continues, we could be looking at more catastrophic events. Even as we tap into our satellite images for this morning, live coverage shows its position already in Madagascar and headed towards Mozambique. Also, the areas that are being highlighted from the satellites are including areas of Moma that could already be affecting the area. Now, that is the position of the tropical cyclone Freddy right now as we speak, where you see the darker colors right there. That is indicating its position and already having made landfall in Madagascar. It is headed for the areas of Mozambique, and of course looking at what could be affected also for areas of Malawi, and that is what is feared, that authorities should already prepare for the worst, but at least evacuations are already being done, and that could reduce on the effects right there. Well, that is it in terms of our weather update for this morning. We do have the agenda coming up. Later than that, we'll also be talking sports, and after which we'll be going for Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Molin Kenyana. I want to wish you a nice day.
Of the day on UBC. Objective.
This isn't just a girl. She is the future. This is a teacher, a doctor, a community leader, our future president.
She is our family's pride. And as her father, I will protect her from child marriage and talk to her about the dangers of teenage pregnancy. We each have a role to play in empowering our teenage girls to protect them from child marriage and pregnancy, because when we empower them, we empower our nation. Protect the girl, save the nation.
Take action. Report any case of defilement or child marriage to the police or call Sawuti 116.
Certainly it would have made his famous father proud. And the 18-year-old Gambian, left foot on the left foot. Oh! Oh my God! The penalty area. That is sensational. The Tunisian defence have been caught out, caught cold. It's a brilliant little.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Six minutes past 8 a.m. Welcome to the GMU agenda this Wednesday hot morning, and of course also Ash Wednesday. Just to remind you there for the Christians this morning, if you are intending to go and have your prayers, well, I want to also wish you the best on that. My name is Philomena Masco, and I am with the gentlemen, Felix and Robert, this morning, talking about the changes in the UACE curriculum. Well, the last couple of months, we've been seeing quite a lot of changes happening generally in the education industries. To be very specific, when we look at the curriculum of the O-level, I mean, things have been taking a change and a shift. Well, it's not any different now for the students who are intending to, or who will qualify to join USCE, that is for their A-level education, will now be required to undergo different changes. If you have been having a different USCE system for the last 5 or 10 years, things are going to be different if actually the proposed amendments to this new curriculum are passed. First of all, learners who will be in their USCE level of education right now will be required to retake only a failed subject, and of course they will be looking up at staying for up to 5 years. Now previously we have been having only 2 years at A-level, Senior 5 and Senior 6, but that is actually going to change if the government approves of this new A-level curriculum, which is again in the offing. Several many other changes, maybe just to take you through some of them. according to the proposed amendments in the A-level curriculum, the tenure for A-level will be a minimum of 2 years and maximum 5 years. Now, this is intended to actually enhance inclusivity. Now, general paper, you remember very well, which was initially being offered by all students, whether a student was in for the science subjects or art subjects, will be replaced with a number of subjects. We're looking at contemporary studies such as generic and ICT plus research skills. We're looking at a financial literacy, basic nutrition, climate change, functional statistics, and peace buildings. I will repeat those for clarity: financial literacy, ICT and research skills, basic nutrition, climate change, functional statistics, and peace building. Now, probably we should start from there. I am seeing one man here who seems to be grinning, and I don't know if he has questions.
I'm just wondering about the quantity in peace building.
Maybe we start from there. Why did you think this is not practical? You think it's practical?
Very practical.
How do you feel about this?
With the level of violence in the country, there's need to have a peace building.
There are also types of violence right now.
With the very much violence. But of course, Philomena, Robert, and our viewers out there, for us to answer well this question is just to simply lodge an inquest. What's the end in need for this that we have put in place? What do we seek, or what do you expect out of all these, as Philomena read them? For example, you look at the fashion of education should be directly in line with where we want to be. And if we want to, Philomena, you may take us probably one by one, if you just can give us a simple highlight on some of those proposed.
We'll start aside from the subject changes, the retakes. Learners who will fail the Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education examinations will actually be required to repeat only the failed subject. And initially,
the next year.
Initially,
so they will wait to sit one paper.
Yes.
The next year. So what are they doing this
in
one
the meantime? Which is a bit very, very confusing.
You know what that seeks to address? Now, first we must say these are proposed amendments.
Yes, they haven't yet been passed by government.
In case they see the light of day and they go through. Now, one of the challenges has been school dropout. That in case a person failed to attain the 2 principal passes, now that person would have failed. And they have to repeat either senior 6, some would even go as senior 5. Now, in the wisdom of the framers or the developers of this new curriculum, they're saying, no, we can address high levels of school dropout, which is one of the biggest challenges that our country is grappling with. Children drop out, those that enter from at P1, by the time they get to P7, 30 have dropped, 30%. Then they continue about another 20 drop when they come to A level. So what they're saying, we need people who have completed phases. So if a person has not gotten the 2 principal passes, but their papers, that's why it's a period of 5 years. There's a paper, let's not say that this person has totally failed. Let them do retakes like it is at university. Because with one paper, maybe the other he could be doing something else. Then he comes back and sits this paper and attains that
doing
certificate.
Something else in that time, right?
Yes.
That's presumably.
Presumably, no, because he will not be in school studying to
So
sit
where
one
would
paper.
he be?
Like at university, Felix, a person can have, they are trying to bring a similarity with what happens at university.
Where
What
they can
happens at
proceed to the
university,
next stage. And
this is not the case, Philomena.
is that what you're trying
This
to
person
say?
is
I'm
not
trying to
proceeding.
quote the
This
deputy
person
director.
has to wait because you
Yes.
can't go to the next level having not passed that what. But in university, that's why it's not even relatable. In university, you proceed, then you come and pick this as you go on. In this case, you'll give an opportunity to sit one paper or 2 or 3, whichever you failed, but you have to wait for the next.
It's the next year.
So what are you doing? That's why I'm asking. How does that, what remedy does that give us?
This is what they're doing. That previously, because a person would say, I can't repeat the entire subjects, and this would deter them. Some would end up not having an A-level certificate at the end of the day. So here they're saying that if, for example, a person knows I failed 1, 2 papers, and to get this senior 6, let's not even take it from A-level, senior 6 certificate, I missed only 1 paper. So I failed only 1 paper. That person can read for that 1 paper if they have the zeal, and then come at the end of year and sit that 1 paper. Contrary to what it has been when a person is told you fail to get the two principal passes, therefore you either rebound and do all the papers again. Psychologically, this could make some people think of, I'm repeating the entire senior 6, you know, if I failed. So now they will tell you, wherever you are, it is 1 paper. If you have the passion, you can. So they believe that at the end of the day, those that will be seen as having complete senior 6, because you have a spell of 5 years, senior 6,
because
then
Philomena and Robert,
many will do that.
What are we looking at here? Are we looking at remedying time or getting the best that works for the candidate?
Best that works for the candidate. In that you want to reduce people who...
So, don't you think time plays also key aspect in getting the best for this child?
Now, what
because we don't seem to factor in the aspect of the time. No one, we must, because we can't brush just it off that time is not a big deal. Don't worry, wait to do this 1 paper next year. It brings us back more or less in the same position of losing this 1 year.
Which one is better? Where a person is told that you totally failed, even when they passed some papers.
If they failed, until you can say someone...
This is what, let's just go into the minds of the framers of this. And this person thinks of, if I have to pass, I better rebound, go back through senior 5 or go and reduce senior 6. Then a person being told that you failed 1 or 2 papers and you have an opportunity to read for these papers, come, sit them. At the end of the day, you have your certificate. And you can enter university thereafter. You can enter university thereafter, after this 1 year. We've had people who have stopped in senior 6 and even go to university, continue after 4, 5 years, 6 years, because they have gotten their certificate.
Time isn't a big deal.
So time is important, but what we are saying, rather than a person not completing a certain stage of education, because what is more easier, going back for 1 paper and saying you have to do the entire lot of exams. Which one is more easy for a person to do? And they're saying, no, it is very easy for someone to go back. Time factor is important, but you want to ensure, you know, when a person has the certificate and they know, I feel like now I have my certificate, maybe even this 1 or 2 years that they were not in school, they were able to do something and they can pay for themselves at campus. So this is what they are looking at. At that level, let's first reduce. Then there's something that my brother talked about, peace building. This curriculum is also seeking to look at the challenges that we are facing in modern day. General paper, GP, I think...
Challenges like?
When you look at what has replaced general paper, there is ICT, someone can look at ICT. There is some of those subjects.
There was ICT, there was financial inclusion or financial actually literacy. Then there is also peacekeeping. Then there is also a couple of other things actually, but looking at that peacekeeping you're talking about, yes.
For general paper, which was only about general knowledge.
Because one of the reasons the ministry said was actually these subjects actually attend to some of the emerging issues. And one of the new subjects, again, I'm seeing here, they talked about climate change, which I think some of these subjects, yes, are quite practical with what is happening right now. So definitely we can relate some of them. I personally can relate some of them to what is happening, but what happens to the others, for example, now like the peacekeeping one, what exactly, how do we get to align it with what is happening right now?
Today, I may not know, no privilege, to know what is the content in peace building that they are going to be teaching these people. But I want to tell you, globally, there's so much of insecurities, there's so much of expertise and knowledge needed in the arena of peacekeeping. If you look at, for example, many courses, many countries having courses that are looking at elements of peace building.
Yes.
People do international relations, you have a course unit which is peace building there. So additional skills and knowledge is very important in that direction. But for me, I look at some like, for example, ICT. If you're going to substitute general paper for ICT, I would say that is a step to go. there's something on nutrition.
Yes,
as a
there
substitute.
Yes,
You
there
know,
is actually nutrition and food technology
Yes,
as one of the new subjects.
if you're going to substitute that, because a curriculum must be able to address problems. Any education that does not address challenges of that day is as good as useless. Because people should be educated to answer to problems, to find solutions to problems. So if our education system is not finding solutions to problems, then that is a problem in its way. If it's not addressing the challenges of school dropout, how do you have to complete certain levels? Someone says, I sat for this paper, I failed, and that was the end of it. How do we fight this? I think if well implemented, this curriculum, and not in a hurry manner, because when you look at the lower secondary curriculum, that was rolled out around 2020. And then it found COVID along. And I think candidates of this very year, 2022, may be examined under the new lower secondary curriculum.
Yes.
But when you look at what is happening today, teachers don't know what they are teaching. Students don't understand what they are teaching. Schools are still fumbling with having in place what it takes to teach the new secondary curriculum. So it seems it was released in a staggered manner. No one exactly knows what is happening in the new lower secondary curriculum. So this is my only fear, that if you go to A-level and repeat the same mistakes that we've done with the lower secondary curriculum, I'm afraid we may be doomed.
Now, one of the reasons, the core reasons that were presented by the ministry, actually, among the reasons why we are looking at some of these proposed changes in the USCE curriculum, it's because of the changes that we made in the O-level curriculum. The pioneer students who are actually undertaking the current O-level new curriculum are sitting for their UCE next year, actually, they will be sitting, 2023. Now, this means that they will be joining Senior 5 in 2025. So they would want to align, because they realize that the changes don't actually align with the old curriculum at USCE. So they're looking at some of these changes to make sure there is a well-balanced curriculum for both O and A-level. There should be a meeting ground. Now, still talking about the proposed subjects for the USCE new curriculum, we're looking at CRE. We are looking at IRE, there is geography, there is history and political education, there is literature, there are sciences of mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology. Then we also do have vocational subjects, ICT, art and design, technology and design, nutrition and food technology, textile and clothing technology, and we do have performing arts. Then looking at some of the subjects that fall under the economic category, we do have entrepreneurship, there is accounting, there is agriculture, and also physical education. We do have languages in there. We do have local languages, we have foreign languages, that is Kiswahili and Ugandan Sign Languages. I don't know, what do you think about some of these new entrants, Felix?
Well, well thought, clearly. An effort to try and make a bit of change.
Yes.
But you see, education is not just about us setting the syllabus straight. Clearly, there's much that comes with it. For example, I want to take on a couple of those subjects that are very much practical in nature. I don't know which ones you can pick out, just maybe 2 or 3. But the practicability of a subject is what makes it more earning. Because then, after a month, you have something to trade, a skill or whatever you get out of it. However, this stage for us to discuss, we must look at it critically, because it is one of those stages at the exit point of that education, elementary education, if I may call it. It's at the point of the exit. Now, what you do there says a lot on how very many things will turn out. Time and again, I've told you that if you want to be surprised, you look at the time in Uganda someone studies. I don't know how many years they are. Minus what? Nursery.
Still primary.
Yes. 7, 4, and 2. That's about 13 years. As you exit after 13 years, can you live on Swahili?
The
Can you support your family?
practicability of having of some of these subjects probably.
That's one.
is-
Because
yes.
because that will be the best weighing scale. Can you live on Swahili? Can your family live on Swahili?
In addition to the rest that you would have studied.
Well, everyone you can question that on each one, if you don't mind, Philomena, because that's what will give us how far we can go or how far we are interested in adoption of such a suggestion. That because for us our focus is at the tail. If Chirabo is living, you're living with what? What's the use of being fluent in a language if it can't put bread on the table for our people?
It's just an additional advantage to the rest that you'll have gotten in school.
That makes it then, if it's an additional,
Because
it becomes secondary.
This curriculum
We are
is
not
looking at.
No, and there's no doubt about that. And in fact, it's what I was trying to put you in a corner and Philo, so that we can get to that point. Now that you brought it out, haven't we put many more secondary support skills than what should be primary? At that exit point, don't you think we are focused more on the secondary subjects for survival than the primary subjects for survival?
What are the primary subjects for survival, Felix?
Skill-based.
But
Anything
I'm
that
seeing
has
also some
skill-based.
skill-based subjects in here. The
Like?
vocational courses that I read out, they're there.
You see, vocational courses, are they going to be taught intertwiningly with S6?
Okay, would you give us some examples of the practical ones that you would actually maybe be advocating for?
That is calculated that it's among, because I look at a person who has done woodwork, metalwork, or technical drawing, has ICT, has Swahili as a language in the East African community, has issues regarding basic nutrition. So this person is fairly whole packaged that for regional purposes, to start a life, for regional purposes,
the region will come
because
later.
language is in doing business, in communication, being fluent has an issue, does, so you can freely do business with it. We've gone for jobs and they ask Swahili is an additional advantage in case you know Swahili. So someone who knows Swahili has a better chance, better than you. So in the East African community, there are many people. How many
people does the East African community
employ? The people who trade with Tanzania, people who trade with Sudan.
The problem. People have made us here studied funny things. At one point they were taking us to study Chinese.
Language. Yes, it's okay to study Chinese.
You can't study your Chinese.
It's okay to study Chinese.
It would be okay, but when we look at the available opportunities.
You don't just study because
additional language. Any additional language. Communication is about skills.
How many languages do you speak, my brother Bob?
I don't speak so many.
And I'm just asking. And I'm not saying that you have to speak. I'm just
asking. I speak Luganda. I speak English. I speak
and Luganda. He speaks Luganda, English, and Luganda.
A bit of French, but not very fluent.
Where do you speak French from, Robert? Okay, you know it, and it's true you know it, but where do you speak it from?
Well, I have comrades when we meet, those that know.
The Chirawo says his bedtime prayer in French. That's the reason. So you went to school for 1 year to say, so that you can say your prayer.
When you meet me with these Congolese,
the Congolese,
and sometimes the opportunities to translate.
I didn't know what they talk about in French in the Congolese.
The opportunities to translate.
But you studied 1 year.
Yes.
You're French to say prayers in French.
Not prayers only, Felix. You go to these gatherings, and of course they need someone who can translate English into French. So any additional language is a bonus.
I can even just be pointing. If I don't know Swahili, I know. Sometimes language is also overrated.
Felix, are you downplaying the role of effective communication when someone can effectively communicate?
Gentlemen, we'll take it back to whether
You'll be saying your prayers
whether we have languages or not. But we also need to look at the practicability of these new subjects, aside from, because here my thinking is that it should be an added advantage if you probably proceed to campus, university. But what happens to the children who actually stop at S6? What is the practicability of some of these new subjects or some of these new entrants in the curriculum?
But Philo, don't you think we should also, as we discuss the syllabus, do you think we should be discussing the relevance of university?
At this point, Felix is questioning everything.
No. You see, we have been...
So, because I feel like eventually we'll have to change also that at university, because we started with O-level. Yes.
We have been conned by the thought that every person has to go through?
University.
We have been conned.
Very true.
And we are still being conned. And you know how these poor parents of Ugandans, natamanyi even what a gown is. Mwana anga yambale kagauni. Kagauni bakalya. Let's be honest. If you're trying to look at fixing things, and the syllabus is, a couple of things are good, as Robert has also put it. If someone has done, for example, home economics, has a bit of this hands-on, university chimayochi. Having acquired, if we focus and we put energy in this syllabus from primary, by the time university yagalayo, leave it for these abagala byomyera.
Actually, Felix, to supplement on what you've said, I'm
honest.
going to give a relevant example in my life that I've seen.
Don't talk about languages.
Not languages. I have seen people who never had enough money to go to uni, to continue, and they dropped in senior 4. Or it was by choice, and they went one went to Bukalasa, Agricultural Institute. Another one went to Kabasanda. I think there's a technical institute in Kabasanda.
Something, yeah.
By that time, some of us were heading to A-level, Bateko. This guy would come in holidays. In his holiday time, he's fixing things, and the man was getting money. The builder is going at sites and getting money. From Kabas, I think she started certificate, then they have where they grade their things. Today, these guys,
they own their companies.
They own their companies. They're giving people jobs from university.
For you are there studying French.
University and you're like, but Jesus, they're hands on. The money is on sites everywhere and everywhere. This one is getting buildings, getting contracts of connecting water. People who went in home economics. Some has already set up bakeries. They are doing cakes.
The only painful bit about what we are and with due respect to what Bob is saying, the only painful bit is the absence of things like agriculture in that. Because we can't be priding about being the backbone and all these things, and we don't put it at the forefront. I think for me that's the only missing link. Trust me, I don't need that language. If I was to pull out something, the language thing is overrated unnecessarily. I can tell you, Philomena, don't you, people trade with Chinese, you've seen. Chinese come here. If you know what you want, the people here who do those jobs.
You can always do a side course on that. It shouldn't
Instead
be
of
the
teaching
curriculum.
someone,
Probably,
someone knows Luganda, they know Lugwere, they know English, now Swahili. Like, all these languages, what's the return on them? You get the point. And let's look at English. We are struggling with maintaining the relevance of English in this country.
Yes.
How many people earn from English apart from teachers? And so I think there's a lot that needs to be. The truth of the matter, there's some good in it. And unfortunately, agriculture is missing. I wish they could fix it in there somehow. And probably the reason why they can't fix it is
actually agriculture is there. Agriculture is there.
Perfect. Then what happens is that, how about the ministry also is very intentional about the licenses it gives to schools?
Yes.
You want people to teach agriculture, but they're operating in a corridor.
That's where
they're operating on the 7th floor.
Yes.
On the 7th floor of a building, in the middle there's a lodge. Because
the intent of some of these subjects, they're supposed to be very practical.
People are talking about the cotoridonal seeds. People are talking about and that's not the duty of ministry. Where before you accredit schools that teach our children, some of these things should be in place. For example, I was in Rubiri here. They had like 20 laboratories, woodwork, metalwork, architectural, like art. We had like 6 arts. You know, but you go to a school, the headmaster's office, there's this woodboard, plywood. Now, headmaster is quarreling with the basa while the centers are kids are studying the reproductive parts of a cockroach. Kakati, we are listening to a headmaster's argument with the basa, also with those schools. Let them join other schools. We should have room. We can't have everyone be a proprietor of a school. Let's be honest. And for us to get something out of this that we are struggling to put in place. Lastly, education can only be made the backbone if we are all intentional about it. The major stakeholders. You remember now kids have been being taken back to school. But the fear we attach to taking kids back to school should be the fear we attach to them getting out of school useless.
It's not
Today we
about
have
you getting
the
that
most
degree.
batch
It's not about you
of
finishing
useless
CSS.
graduates,
Yes.
useless educated graduates. In fact, it is laughable to say I'm educated lately. Because the amount you take the struggle, the pain we put in when we are paying this money should be the pain we put in to make sure we have something solid out of education. Someone studies to be a doctor, a lawyer. I've seen most of them in corridors of courts, and they can't speak English.
Now language comes up.
No, because it is. You see, for us, we sell the brain.
Fully express
it is your tool of
themselves.
trade. But if you've decided to take that way, you must appreciate what is needed. Oinaja, speaking ra 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 ra. Actually, what is that? What are you speaking English?
Well, new
or
proposed
Uganda?
USCE curriculum, and of course, we'd love to know, do you think this will give value, especially to education of our students in the USCE? My only concern here is that we should give enough time for this. If actually we go through with the changes, we should give enough time. We shouldn't drag it, but we should also give enough time. I wouldn't want to see the challenges.
Do we have the time, Philomena?
But you see, what's the essence of you rushing? Did you see the challenges we had with the O level? Even now, do you know that there are some schools that don't even know what is happening in that O level curriculum? They are not teaching it.
I like when you say they don't know what's happening.
They don't even know what's happening.
But then they stuck on their old things.
They are there, they're like, you know what?
That curriculum,
for us, we don't understand. As a teacher, we don't have textbooks. We don't even know what's happening. But we know there is a change in an O level curriculum. Now, that child is going to jump to A level with a new curriculum. Now, what happens to a school like that? They haven't yet stabilized with the O-level curriculum, the new one, and here we go with the new A-level curriculum. So there is some time that needs and some thought.
To transition
thing. To transition things, not just throw things at people like that.
I think for me, in these new curriculums, the A-level, if it passes, we are biting more than what we can chew and swallow. There's so much good in these curriculums that practically we may not be able to have as our education system. Traditional schools may excel. You see, even this gap between the rich and the poor in terms of academics is expanding day by day. The likes of Felix, the schools they went to today, no, you know I love to be open and give examples.
Wow.
A child would come from Gutambala, Gomba, and go to King's College Wood. And the parents would afford the money. Then. Today, you can no longer have a child of a peasant. Never funabuna. Agenda gayaza. Agenda budo. 2.8 million the clan. No member in the clan has ever gotten that money.
That's true.
You get it?
Sadly.
Sadly to say, it is painful. Because you people in Ministry of Education, you people that sit in Parliament, these are the opportunities you had in your times that today you're not looking at. What made you? We went to Mwiri, we went to Budo, we went to this because the systems
They used the ladder and they kicked it down.
They used the ladder and they kicked it down. Now with this new curriculum, what is going to happen?
Awesome.
Schools that have what it takes to effectively educate through these changes are few and expensive. What is going to happen to these gambling schools? Do they have what it takes? Felix talked about betting a lodge and a school. Some of these, the lower curriculum, I went to Undeje, you said, I went to Undeje Senior Secondary School. We had an art lab as big as this building. We had a metal workshop, wood workshop, that's technical drawing. This is what the curriculum is looking at. Which schools have them? How many schools have them? Those that have them are the schools of the rich. So when we are developing these changes, what have we put in place to ensure there is effective teaching of these changes countrywide? Let the child of the poor not be destined to be poor because there is no way they can make a breakthrough.
Actually, relating to what Robert is saying, that will the child in Kavira Maido, the child in Kisoro, the child Kebong, Abim, get the same service as the one in Kampala?
And you've put continuous assessment, Felix, that at the end of the day, they are sitting, the exams they are sitting.
With all these things.
20%. is what you've been doing.
Yes.
So
It's
you only have
practical. The
80%
class,
on the final
assessments are for
examination.
80%, yes.
Heavenly Father, have
How do you
grace
account
upon
for the
this.
20%
Yes.
if factors of economics don't
You
play
don't
fairly
have
for all
them.
of us? And that's why,
The poor child will have to
in
work for
alludance to
80%.
what Robert is saying, that no wonder the bourgeoisie and the gap between can never be extinguished because of such factors. And that's why you people, for some of us who used to go to school, my mother, my grandmother, people who raised us, used to always remind us, you must put in more effort than any other person because
no, you still fail completely.
We can't help more than that. But of course, but yet education is a right. It's surprising.
It's a right to every
which
child,
anyone should be
yes.
able to enjoy. But we pray for each other. We are happy for the fact that there are a couple of moves that are being done. Who will benefit, where, what you can't benefit, at the end of the day, we are all in the country. What do? You can only do so much. If people are supposed to build them and not building them.
If they
For
build
us,
them,
we shall do our lip service. For you give a license to the schools that share buildings with lodges. That we can't control that. We shall only talk about it. If you don't care that a school has a garden, you give the licenses. But at the end of the day, those kids are going to, in Uganda we say, they're kuwangala with your own kids. And that's how you've seen. So you see, God is miraculous. Now that even we are in Lent time, you'll find these that you think shouldn't be benefiting of the resources of a country, they will come for these resources. And you've seen it time and again. You've seen what happens. Some countries have gone to the dogs because of the widening gap between the haves and the have-nots. So
yes.
we better be intentional about education, and then God shall bless all of us.
Well, allow me to wish you a wonderful Lent that is starting now, and to all the Christians, of course, I am.
You have launched it.
Yeah,
that is
I
starting
have
right
not
now.
launched anything.
I
But
like
yes,
that.
I just want to wish the best to everyone. I don't know if you're intending to go to church, but
I'll see about
we'll
that.
figure
Felix
it
must
out.
have hash in his forehead. I guarantee.
I'm privileged
Yes.
that I can get in the comfort of my home, because in the family we have lots of people who have been consecrated to be clerics.
Yes.
So I can even make a call and say, hey, uncle, I have lots of priests in the family.
Well, we will leave it at that. And Ruben is coming in with the sports updates, of course. And also we do have the GMU Extra queued up right after that. Manchester City. Yes. I'm not a big liar. I am a Man
For how
City.
long have you supported?
I've always been a Man City fan. You people have never asked me.
You support some Italian teams.
AC Milan.
Now what is AC Milan? Anyway, good morning, Uganda. We'll be back. Good morning, Uganda. Will be continuing later.
Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Ginger Tea drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body, because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all